The All-Star break is come and gone, and the next major deadline in MLB is the trade deadline at the end of this month. So what I have for you today is 19 potential trades, as well as the outlines on 4 shocking trades that could happen at this year's deadline. Trade number 1. The San Diego Padres trade starting pitcher Blake Snell and relief pitcher Josh Hader to the Reds for prospects. The prospects likely would have a heavy emphasis on pitching. The Reds have the third-ranked farm system going into the draft, according to Fangraphs. The Reds have suffered several injuries to the rotation this year and could use a veteran like Snell to solidify a need. Snell also supports a 2.85 ERA through 98 innings this season and has a playoff experience. With the combination of Hader and Alexi Diaz at the end of the bullpen, the Reds could form a dangerous 1-2 punch that could rival the likes of Andrew Miller and Cody Allen in 2016. The Reds also went heavy on pitching early in the draft, selecting pitchers with 4 of their first 5 picks. They could afford to move a pitcher or two. Trade number 2. The Chicago Cubs trade starting pitcher Marcus Stroman to the Diamondbacks for prospects. The Cubs will likely come calling for a top pitching prospect, and the name Blake Walston might do the bidding. Walston was a first-round pick in the 2019 draft. The 6'5 lefty is currently in AAA at the age of 22. He's currently the Diamondbacks' number 5 rated prospect, according to MLB.com. Stroman does have a player option for the 2024 season, so this isn't a straight-up rental like Snell and Hader are. The Diamondbacks are fighting in a competitive NL West division and could use another strong starter to pair up with Zach Gallen. This would push Merrill Kelly into a number 3 spot for the playoffs. Trade number 3. The Chicago White Sox trade starting pitcher Lucas Giolito and relief pitcher Liam Hendriks to the Orioles for prospects. The Orioles currently have the number 1 rated farm system according to Fangraphs. The Orioles are currently second in a competitive AL East and only 2 games behind the Rays. They do currently hold a wildcard spot heading out of the All-Star break. The team's biggest weakness has to be their starting pitching. Giolito would slide into their starting rotation nicely for the stretch run. He currently has a 3.45 ERA through 112 and 1/3 innings pitched. With the addition of Hendriks to the bullpen, the White Sox should be allowed to come away with a good prospect or two. Giolito is on an expiring deal, but Hendriks has a $15 million club option for 2024. Trade number 4. The Detroit Tigers trade Eduardo Rodriguez and starting pitcher Michael Lorenzen to the Rangers for prospects. The Rangers currently have the 7th-ranked farm system. The Rangers are all in this year, but with injuries to the rotation and bullpen, the Rangers need to fill some holes. Rodriguez could slide into the rotation, while Lorenzen could start or be utilized out of the bullpen. Lorenzen has an expiring contract, while Rodriguez has an opt-out clause. If he decides to opt in, the Rangers would have him for another 3 years with a reasonable salary. The risk comes with not knowing what Rodriguez will do. I have to believe that pitching for a winning team in a new ballpark, with the front office willing to spend to improve, should incentivize him enough to stay. The Tigers in return could help improve their 25th ranked farm system as they continue to develop their young players. Trade number 5. The Chicago White Sox trade shortstop Tim Anderson to the Yankees for prospects. While this may come as a shock to most, I think it's overdue for a change of scenery for Anderson. He struggled this year to a .223 batting average and a .522 OPS. The Chicago White Sox need to go into a full rebuild mode and replenish their farm system. The Yankees struggled to get production out of their shortstop this year. Volpe has shown he isn't quite ready yet, and Kiner-Falefa has shown he's nothing more than a backup. The Yankees do have a shortstop prospect coming, but in the meantime, Anderson could fill in for a playoff contender. He does hold a $15 million club option for the 2024 season. For a team that is struggling offensively and has shown a tendency to fall into the 3 true outcomes, Anderson has never had an issue putting the ball in play. Maybe he's just the spark the team needs to turn the season around offensively. Trade number 6. The Washington Nationals trade Jeimer Candelario to the New York Yankees for prospects. When the Nationals signed Candelario to a 1-year deal, it was in hopes of being able to flip him at the deadline. Again, the Yankees need some offensive upgrades, and Candelario would fill a need. He's hitting .261 with an OPS of .815. Since he's on an expiring contract, the Yankees wouldn't have to give up too much either. Between Anderson and Candelario, the entire left side of the infield would change without having to give up too much in return. Trade number 7. The St. Louis Cardinals trade starting pitcher Jack Flaherty and relief pitcher Chris Stratton to the Rays for prospects. The Rays and Cardinals have a history of trades in the past. I don't think I need to mention any more on that. The Rays have the 8th-ranked farm system and also have a need for pitching due to injuries. Flaherty and Stratton are both on expiring deals and could fill needs for the Rays. The Rays have a deep farm system and could manage giving up some prospects that might be blocked otherwise. Trade number 8. The Colorado Rockies trade catcher Elias Diaz to the Cleveland Guardians for prospects. Diaz's trade value is never going to be higher. He was the MVP of the All-Star game and has another year of control left for 2024. So he's not just a rental. The Guardians have gotten very little value out of their catching position, and it's not quite fair to rely on the rookie Bo Naylor to step up and provide it. Meanwhile, the Guardians do have the 11th ranked farm system, and the Rockies already have their catcher of the future in Drew Romo sitting in Double-A, while they also just drafted Cole Carrig as a catcher in the supplemental second round. If the Rockies aren't going to compete in 2023, they might as well add some prospects for the future. Trade number 9. The St. Louis Cardinals trade starting pitcher Jordan Montgomery and relief pitcher Jordan Hicks to the Dodgers for prospects. The Dodgers have suffered quite a bit of injuries this season, but still remain competitive. Buehler and May are done for the rest of 2023, and Pepio and Kershaw are returning from injuries soon. Blake Trinan and Daniel Hudson are both on the 60-day IL currently as well, so the Dodgers are in need of pitching. The Cardinals, on the other hand, are looking at the Dodgers' 4th-ranked farm system and might try to target a player like number 4 prospect Gavin Stone, a 24-year-old pitcher in Triple-A that could be in the big league soon. Trade number 10. The Colorado Rockies trade outfielder Randal Grichuk to the Braves for prospects. While the Braves have the 30th ranked farm system, that's mostly due to all their top prospects being called up and succeeding over the years. The Rockies could zero in on one prospect they really like to make this trade happen. Grichuk is on an expiring contract, and it won't cost the team too much. Trade number 11. The Boston Red Sox trade starting pitcher James Paxton to the Astros for prospects. The Red Sox are going to be a bit of buyers and sellers at the deadline this year, but with the expanded playoffs, it's becoming more of a seller's market. Paxton is on an expiring deal and would fit nicely in for the Astros, who have seen some of their key starters sitting on the 60-day IL. The Astros do have 4 prospects sitting between 8 to 13 in their prospect top 30 that are in Double-A or Triple-A and could look appealing to the Red Sox. Trade number 12. The Colorado Rockies trade first baseman CJ Cron to the Angels for prospects. I have to believe the Angels will try their best to make a splash. They need better production from the first baseman and might take a chance on the struggling CJ Cron to finish strong in the second half. Maybe a change of scenery and onto a contender will help improve his game. The Angels don't have a great farm system, but Cron is having a down year on an expiring contract. He likely wouldn't cost too much. Trade number 13. The Boston Red Sox trade outfielder Kiki Hernandez and relief pitcher Chris Martin to the Dodgers for prospects. Hernandez is having a bad year in Boston. As the roster gets healthier, his playing time is likely going to decrease, and the Red Sox can afford to trade him. The Dodgers, on the other hand, could really use his defensive versatility, and we all know they know how to get some success out of Hernandez. As we've already mentioned, injuries have hit the Dodgers pretty hard, and adding a veteran to their bullpen in Martin would also treat them well. And no, it's not lost on me either that both players have recently played for the Dodgers. Trade number 14. The Oakland Athletics trade outfielder/DH Brent Rooker and first baseman Ryan Noda to the Brewers for prospects. The Brewers could use some offensive upgrades. They're currently 22nd in the league in runs and 25th in OPS. They're not traditionally a team that makes a big splash at the trade deadline, unless it's them trading away the big star. More on that later. Noda was a Rule 5 pick that's having some success this year, and Rooker is having a potential breakout season at the age of 28. He does swing and miss a lot, though. The Athletics might try to get a decent return for these two players, who do have team control for multiple seasons. The Brewers went very heavy in the draft on pitching, which could allow them to move an arm or two to the Athletics in exchange for the two sluggers. Trade number 15. The Chicago Cubs trade outfielder Cody Bellinger to the Phillies for prospects. Bellinger is having a good offensive season and does have a mutual option for 2024. The Phillies could utilize him in center field and at first base and make their lineup even deeper. The Cubs took a chance on Bellinger, hoping for a bounce-back season, and they seem to hit on their gamble. The Phillies only have the 20th ranked farm system, but the Cubs should get a decent prospect or two out of them. Trade number 16. The Boston Red Sox trade relief pitcher Kenley Jensen and outfielder Adam Duvall to the Rangers for prospects. The Rangers already made a trade earlier to address their starting rotation and middle innings, and now we address the back end with the addition of Jansen. Duvall could take the spot of struggling Robbie Grossman or be utilized as some type of platoon/fourth outfielder. The Red Sox will look at that 7th ranked farm system and try to pillage away a good prospect or two. Duvall is on an expiring contract while Jansen has one more year of control left. Trade number 17. The New York Mets trade outfielder Tommy Pham to the Twins for prospects. We're getting to the end of the list. Not all of them can be fun or sexy. Pham has done well for the Mets this year, but he's on an expiring contract, and if the Mets continue to struggle, they might want to open up spots for younger players down the stretch. The Twins, on the other hand, are still competing for the division and can use a corner outfield bat. There's not much to be said here other than the Twins exchanging of a lower prospect or two. Trade number 18. The The Kansas City Royals trade infielder Nicky Lopez and relief pitcher Scott Barlow to the Mariners for prospects. I addressed this in an article earlier in the year that while Lopez has another 2 years of team control left, at the age of 28, he kind of is what he is. The Royals have a prospect in waiting that could fill this role, but with more upside and probably cheaper. The Mariners would like some defensive versatility with the hope of offensive spark down the stretch. Barlow is another good bullpen piece that could be utilized for the Mariners without having to give up too much. He does hold 1 more year of arbitration control left, but the Mariners could move on from him after this season. He's set to make $5.3 million in 2023 and might cost too much for them in 2024. Trade number 19. The Colorado Rockies trade outfielder Jurickson Profar to the Marlins for prospects. The Marlins are loaded with arms as they continue to go pitcher heavy in the draft this year. As a free agent, Profar lasted very long this offseason. If I remember correctly, there were some rumors about the Marlins having interest in him. Profar hasn't done much in 2023, but he's a decent role player with defensive versatility. He showed he can still crush lefties as well and could be utilized as a platoon. He also wouldn't cost the Marlins much, but maybe a low-level arm. As we move on to the big-time potential shocker trades, I want to emphasize I don't think these will actually happen, but if the teams do decide to make these players available, these are some rough outlines that I might follow. This time we're going to start with the least one, build up to the greatest. Big trade number 1. The Milwaukee Brewers trade Willy Adames to the Marlins for number 4 prospect, left-handed pitcher Jake Eder, and number 15 prospect, right-handed pitcher Carson Milbrandt, with another player to be named later. While Adames does have 16 home runs this season, he struggled offensively overall. He's hitting .213 with an OPS of .710. While the Brewers could be considered selling low on Adames, they do have some prospects in waiting to take the role should Adames leave after 2024 when he becomes a free agent. He's likely going to make over $10 million in arbitration for the 2024 season. While Adames has struggled this year offensively, he would be a major defensive upgrade for the Marlins at shortstop. Also, without the same offensive pressure as hidden in the middle of the lineup of the Brewers, which might allow him for better numbers in the second half. The Marlins are fighting for a playoff spot this year and are running out John Birdie and Joey Wendell at shortstop. Adames would be a major upgrade. Meanwhile, the Brewers would be adding 2 arms that are intriguing. Eder is already in Double-A and isn't far from the big leagues. Milbrandt is 19 and a 3rd-round pick in last year's draft, so he has some major upside. With the Marlins going heavy on arms in this year's draft, both these players could be deemed expendable. Big trade number 2. The Philadelphia Phillies trade starting pitcher Aaron Nola to the Orioles for number 9 prospect, left-handed pitcher DL Hall, and other pieces. If the Phillies fall out of contention and wave the white flags, teams could come calling for Nola. He's on the last year of his deal, but still providing quality innings. The Orioles could improve their rotation while not giving up too much. DL Hall was a first-round draft pick in 2017. He's currently 24, though, and has struggled in his brief appearances in the big leagues. He spent most of 2023 in AAA. He has good tools, but lacks the control. If he's not already on the 40-man roster, he soon will be. If the Orioles decide to go all in this year, he's a piece they can afford to cut ties with in order to get Nola. The Phillies, on the other hand, might hope they can fix Hall's control issues and maybe even utilize him out of the bullpen as early as 2024. Big trade number 3. The Milwaukee Brewers trade starting pitcher Corbin Burnes to the Dodgers for number 3 prospect Dalton Rushing, number 7 prospect right-handed pitcher Ryan Pepiot, and other pieces. The Brewers have showed they're not afraid to trade away key pieces of their roster in order to get maximum value. Rushing is one of the top catching prospects in baseball. The problem is he's blocked behind Will Smith and other top catching prospect Diego Cartia. Ryan Pepiot has had some success in 2022 with the Dodgers, but has missed 2023 with an oblique strain. He could likely fill the rotation spot for Burnes going forward. It would also give the Brewers the full 5+ years of team control to utilize him however they like. Big trade number 4. The Los Angeles Angels trade starting pitcher/outfielder Shohei Ohtani to the Rangers for number 5 prospect right-handed pitcher Jack Leiter, number 6 prospect, second base and third baseman Justin Forskew, and the number 21 prospect, right-handed pitcher Zach Kent. Now, before you go hyperventilate, let me explain why this works out for both teams. If you're the Rangers and you're really going for it, you're gaining an ace to replace DeGrom for the playoffs. You're also obviously adding a huge bat to the lineup as well, while the players you're giving up are players you can afford to lose, in my opinion. I'm sure some of you know that Jack Leiter was a 2nd pick in the 2021 draft. He's got all the tools you want, but let's look at the numbers. Through 158 innings in Double-A, he he has a 5.53 ERA. He does have 194 strikeouts, but also has 99 walks. His whip is 1.54 and his opponent's batting average is 242. So there's some good with the bad. Jack is only 23 and will hopefully figure things out. But in order to get Ohtani, you're going to have to give up some good players. What happens if Leiter doesn't figure out his control issues? What if he ends up as only a back end of the rotation arm or a bullpen piece? This happens a lot more than people realize. I'd pull the trigger for Ohtani. As for Justin Forskew, he's currently 24 and in AAA. He's essentially blocked by Simeon and Jung. He's expendable, as they say. The pitcher Zach Kent is also in AAA, and he is 25. Not quite sure he'll make it to the show as a starter, but he would be a really good reliever for someone like the Angels as early as next year. Therefore, if you're the Angels, you're getting two prospects that are MLB ready and the high upside of Jack Leiter for a player who is likely walking away in free agency. If you're the Rangers, you're losing pieces you can afford to lose and gain the best player in baseball for a playoff run.